the Str8Up Podcast, where we aim to connect international creatives with locally based entrepreneurs and artists to cultivate a creative community through the culture and private and public sectors. So today we have a very special guest. We have Varsha Vinn, who's a pop/alternative recording artist. She's a singer, songwriter. She released music independently as well with major giants such as Sony Music, Universal Music. She's originally from India. She's been performing for a very, very, very long time, and we're very excited to have her as a guest today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm great. Especially now that you're here, it's even better.
Thank you.
So for those who may not have heard of you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I'm a singer-songwriter. My style is leaning more towards dark pop and alternative lately, but it keeps changing. I'm always reinventing myself.
Right.
I was born and raised in India, and I did part of my high school in the U.S. as an exchange student in Colorado, and then I did my college in Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Wow.
So I have a degree in songwriting.
So that whole time in the Northeast?
Yeah, the whole time. Well, Colorado was kind of the
Colorado,
West.
Boulder,
it
West,
was definitely like a cultural difference between
for sure.
these two.
Were you in Boulder or?
I was in Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs.
Yeah, I lived with an American family,
Gotcha.
so I had an experience for sure.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Dubai 2 years ago. I've been doing a lot of shows, writing a lot of music, working with incredible producers, and just building up, making some good friends. And I started singing when I was 2 years old. And so music has been a huge part of my life. I was doing a lot of theater growing up. I did a lot of music shows. And I think things really changed for me when I started writing songs when I was 14. I think it was about 5 years after my father died. And those 5 years kind of shaped me.
Right.
I felt really lonely and isolated from the world, and so I didn't have a safe space to vent. There was no concept of therapy back then.
Right.
So I needed to find a place. So I started writing songs just out of the blue, and I think that's when it started.
Right.
And, yeah.
So writing songs helped you cope with everything that was going on in your life at the time. So you mentioned that you started performing at the age of 2.
Yes.
I think I wasn't even making full sentences yet. So how did that work out? Like how did so you grew up in a musical household?
Yes. I did.
Yeah. So and as far as the people, your influences, I should say, who have been your biggest influences?
I think growing up, it changes a lot. When I was younger, obviously too, I didn't have any influences. My only influence was my mother because she was teaching me the songs. But
did your mother sing as well?
She sang. My dad was more of a singer. His family is full of, they're like professional Indian classical musicians.
Okay.
I was put into that. I just didn't connect with it.
Right.
So I paved my own path. But growing up, I listened to a lot of pop. So my best friend, my only friend at that point, we would, go back from school to the house and like would lock the room. And you had like desktop computers.
Right.
We would open YouTube and be like Taylor Swift, Love Story, Selena Gomez. Like that was the music I grew up listening to in my teens. Like pop.
Right.
I had a love for pop since the beginning because it speaks to people.
Right.
It really
to the masses, right?
To the masses,
Yeah.
and I think there's so much power in that. No matter how much people look down on it,
True.
There is power in pop, and because it's called pop culture, right?
Right. Everything that we see is based on the pop culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And but growing up, after then, when I went to the States, and then I started to be exposed to more music. My host father was a country musician.
Oh, okay.
So I used to go to a lot of country shows. That's when I started to really build on my songwriting and guitar skills. So I was a country musician for the longest time. All my music is down because, I'm not doing country anymore. But back then it was Loretta Lynn. I loved Martina McBride, Brad Paisley. Like, I was really into that stuff. And but things changed, obviously. Like, then I listened to a lot of rock. I love Led Zeppelin. But one of my biggest influences, I think, two of my biggest songwriting influences till date, it would be Joni Mitchell and Taylor Swift. I think these are the two strongest songwriting women who are songwriters in the industry.
Right.
And I love their style of songwriting, which is so autobiographical and, there's so much depth in it, and I'm constantly in awe.
Right.
I think those two would be my biggest.
Yeah, it's the authenticity in their music that kind of makes them shine. You know, like
they talk about something that everybody can relate to. It's
right.
It's vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It's pain, and they talk about everything in the most beautiful way.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So what brought you to the UAE? Like, what made you come from, your experiences, whether it's, back home in India and then coming, having your host in the U.S. And now you're in the UAE. What brought you here?
So I was back in India after Berkeley and trying to figure out what my next step was.
Right.
I was doing a bunch of shows in India. I was recording, I was writing in the studio, but I constantly felt like there wasn't a space of recognition for me, and I was trying to figure out, okay, where can I go next that isn't saturated and where I could be recognized? And this just happened so randomly. A producer from here reached out to me on Instagram. He'd apparently been following my work for a while, and he reached out. He was like, would you like to, collaborate on a song together remotely? I can send you some beats. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I was working with him remotely for a while, and then he started bringing in some of his artist clients to me, and that's when I got my footing into songwriting. So as a songwriter, it's different from being an artist, right? Like, I was writing songs for all of his artists, and finally making some money, and it was good. So I was like, let me just go check out the scene in Dubai. I came here, I stayed with him and his wife, and they are lovely. They're like family to me at this point. They were so welcoming. They're from Pakistan. They're back in Pakistan now, but I ended up being here. So I checked out the scene, and people were like, why don't you apply for a couple of residencies and see how it goes? I did. I got some residencies. I just packed my bags and moved.
Wow.
Yeah, I just did. I mean, that's how I always worked. It's, where opportunity is, that's where you go. But
that's a great philosophy to have, because most people would be scared to kind of just pack up what they know their entire life and then kind of move to another country where you may know some, especially if you just met on Instagram.
Well, I did that when I was 15. I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know the family I was going to stay with.
Back in the States,
I just wanted to get out of the country so badly.
Yeah.
I was like, take me anywhere. So yeah, I've always been that way, and Dubai surprised me in so many ways, and my growth here has been faster than anywhere. So
yeah, Dubai is one of those cities where it's a growing scene. When I first came here 5 years ago, none of the DSPs weren't here outside of Ngami. I think Ngami was just starting when I first got here. And now we have like Spotify, we have YouTube, we have Facebook has an office here. And it was just like, the scene is growing. So being able to immerse yourself in culture here is a gift and a curse, in some certain instances.
Absolutely. Both ways. It goes both ways for sure.
Right. So how has your experience been, just in general with the scene here?
I would say the music industry is definitely growing. And, there's different parts of the music industry here, right? Like, there's the gigging scene.
Right.
There's cover shows. And then there's the original music scene. And under that, there's, languages and genres. So I definitely feel like the music industry is a little bit to each his own. Which is a very new environment for me, because I come from a very collaborative environment. What I would like to see here is songwriting sessions, people getting together in a studio, writing songs, collaborating. I reached out to a bunch of artists, and they were like, sorry man, I just write my own songs. So that's been kind of isolating. So in that sense, I still write with my co-writers from the US. It happens, but it would be nice to have a community where it's more inclusive. And I definitely feel like there's a lot of support for hip hop and rap, but there is not. There's no support for pop scene. And what I would like to see in the coming years is appreciation and a platform for pop.
Right.
Which I hope I can contribute something towards.
I'm sure you will.
Because, pop can really be looked down upon, but it has so much power in it. It can, because when you think of pop, sometimes you think of a certain aspect of pop, but pop is so vast. You can literally make your own pop. You can create a new genre of pop, and that becomes popular. And that's pop.
Yeah, and that's what most people don't realize. People don't realize, like, pop is this popular culture. It's not necessarily a genre of music where it has a particular sound. It could be anything. It just has to be popular. And usually popular music, like you mentioned before, it just resonates with the people. Right? And that's what makes pop, right?
Exactly.
You know? So being as though you've been here, and you've been here for 2 years, right? Yeah. And half of those years have been dealing with this COVID situation. How has COVID had an impact on you?
It's had a positive and negative impact. Negative as in, financially it hasn't helped at all. Yeah,
it's not good, man.
I think
go away,
anybody,
COVID,
though,
go away.
But for anybody, it hasn't been the best time, and it was a lot to take in because, I was gigging 4 to 5 times a week. I was doing shows, I was doing events, and then everything just stopped. So I realized that a lot of my self-worth and identity was tied to that, which is bad. But I'm glad I discovered that, because during the pandemic, I realized that there's so many aspects to my being that's special, that I shouldn't depend on one thing to define myself or my worth.
Right.
So in that sense, I learned a lot to appreciate life, to be grateful for what you have.
Right.
Because, when you are rising, you always want more and more and more, which is something that I still do have, because you're ambitious as a person. But I feel like that one of the most important things I've learned is to appreciate what you have, and knowing that there's many dimensions to you as a person besides your work.
Gotcha. Has that reflected in your songwriting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much. My songwriting has become more relaxed. I'm more open to experimenting. I recently did a project with 2 Arabic artists, and I'm singing a little bit of Arabic in it.
Okay.
I really pushed my limits, and it's really crazy because when we played it back to some Arabic, producers, they were like, "Who is this?" Like, because they didn't even know it was a foreigner singing Arabic, and I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I realized that for the longest time, I couldn't connect to music because I was doing it from a place of, I have to do it.
Right.
But now it's from a place of, what can I do that's going to make a difference? What can I do that is going to change things off for not just for myself, but for the people around me.
Right.
Like, what can I bring to the table?
Right.
So, yeah.
Nah, that's amazing. So can we rewind back time a little bit and go back to your experience at Berklee, which is one of the most prominent music schools, like, globally. How has that affected who you are as an artist?
It has changed me completely. I didn't realize, this is the thing with Berklee students, right? When you're at Berklee, you don't realize the growth you have, you're going through, because you're so frustrated with schoolwork. You're like, man, I can't do 16 credits. You don't have time for anything else. You're like pulling all-nighters. You're working on music theory and like ensembles. I mean, you're really shaping as a musician, right? Like you have, as a songwriting major, I wasn't just doing songwriting. I had vocal lessons. I had keyboard lessons. I was part of ensembles, so like I was part of bands. And then I was doing music theory. And then I was taking business classes. And it can be frustrating at the moment, but I didn't realize when I came out of it, I was like, oh my God, I'm a well-rounded musician now. They can ask me questions and I can answer different aspects of it.
Right.
From publishing to sync licensing to writing songs to being in the studio and vocal lessons. I mean, so it has, I feel truly blessed because I couldn't afford Berklee and I had part scholarship and part sponsorship. And I feel extremely grateful that I was even able to attend.
Yeah, it's a beautiful institution, and they do have a long reach globally, which we have over here. We've talked off air a little bit.
Amazing teachers too.
Yeah,
amazing teachers. I have to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you know, the ones that's here, that's based here, we know have been recognized for like Grammy wins and Grammy nominations.
Yeah.
We mentioned off air like how you wanted to start an alumni situation. Is that something you want to? Can you elaborate on it a little bit?
So I think one of the things about, like I mentioned before, is the collaborative community. And there are Berklee communities in LA, New York, Nashville, London, everywhere. And I was thinking about, there's no Berkeley community here, but I do know Berkeley graduates who live here. Some of them are my friends. And now that there's Berkeley Abu Dhabi, I was thinking, man, it would be really nice to form an alumni community here, a group of students. I mean, we're not just going to support each other, right? We're going to support musicians, whoever want to be a part of it. It's not a closed circle. But it would be nice to kind of help each other out, try to, have a community, because I feel like as musicians, you do need one.
Yep, you do.
A community where you lift each other up, you elevate each other, and bring in different kind of talents and work together. I would love to create a community of Berkeley students here.
And a part of what we're blessed to have in the UAE is being as though we're the #1 tourist destination in the world, pretty much. So you have so many former alumni that may come through, that may want to do something. They're here for 1 or 2 months.
I don't even know whenever somebody comes here.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody finds out, because they're just here to do their own thing. Maybe they would love to catch up for coffee with some Berkeley students or alumni.
Right.
And, it would be really nice.
It'll be good to have. So as far as your music, you release, how many albums and EPs have you released so far?
I've released, so since last year, so this is the best part about the lockdown, right? I released 14 songs, singles of my own, collaborations, an entire EP. So I've worked with, producers from the UK, Morocco, Korea, Pakistan, obviously, and I grew so much with each release. So I released so much music, and I didn't even know the growth until I looked back.
And you can hear it too. You can hear it when you listen to your catalog. You can see, all the music is good, but you can tell the growth within the music. So
thank you so much. I think that's the goal. I mean, if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing it right.
True.
So yeah, it's been crazy. Like I get to work with an incredible team. I have to talk about them. My co-writer Lions, she and I are best friends since Berkeley, and she lives in LA now. We've been writing together for 6 years, and she's my main. She's my girl, and we are a team. Right. And my producers Ali Mustafa and Amin Alubaidi, they're my strength, they're my pillars of strength, to be honest, because they really believe in me. They believed in me since the beginning when I had no music up.
Right.
And they really build me up. They continue to, and they push my limits. They believe in me, and I think it's believing in the potential and not about quick results. And I think that's so rare to find in a team.
True.
Especially
in here. Especially
here.
Yeah, in Dubai. Exactly. It's all about the clout and who has what and who's doing what, blah, 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 blah. And then it's it's rare to find somebody that's going to kind of gravitate to you and help elevate you.
It's the vision. It's the long-term vision, long-term goal. And it's you see it, but when you get people to see it, that's when you know that you've really won and you've taken that next step. And it's really funny that you talked about cloud, because I have an Instagram post that said, I'm not chasing cloud, just building my bank account.
Boom.
Because I think one of the things I struggle with here is clout. And I feel like a lot of the times I don't get a lot of opportunities because of it. But I started to think about it this way, that it can take a lot of strength to not fall into that and to build your own path and know that your worth doesn't depend on that kissing,
Right, because at the end of the day, it's not about quantity. It's all about quality.
Absolutely.
Right? Quality always matters more than quantity. You know what I mean? Unless you're talking about money. Outside of that. But it's always about the quality of people who you meet, the quality of people who you go, because that presents opportunities which enables you to grow.
Absolutely.
Right? In every aspect of life.
And what's really funny is that my team is really low-key. They're not very active on social media. And, I think that I'm always drawn to the underdogs in the sense that because I feel like one all the time. So when I want to work with someone, I don't think about, how famous are they here? Who do they know? I think about, oh, my God, we are really connecting, man. We're connecting in the studio right now. We're able to create. I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care. I just care that we can create something beautiful and grow together.
Right.
And I think I think that in that sense, I'm always drawn to these kind of people who are just really like chill.
Yeah. But you have a pretty good profile yourself, though. You've I haven't been following you, since your beginning, but like on online, I have listened to your catalog, and I saw like how the music has grown. But you have a pretty good following online.
Thank you.
That helps out, I'm sure. So as far as your music and how it's being received, not necessarily in the UAE, but globally, like with your your core circle, how have you seen yourself, just kind of rise? Like, how have people perceived you?
Right. Honestly, the past year, there has been so much outpour of love for me from all over the world. I mean, I think that's the power of social media, that you don't have to be in a particular place to make a difference. So since the time I started releasing music, I released Reveal Me, my single, and I dropped a music video for 2 years ago. I think that's when things started to change for me, because that was my first pop release. Like that was when people knew, okay, this is what she can do, she's capable of. And then I kind of took a hiatus in between because I was gigging a lot, kind of got distracted a little bit, trying to find my footing here and, pay my bills.
Right. That's always necessary.
And but last year I released Fake Reality and then Muse. That was with Universal Mina. And then I think that's when things started happening. People started noticing, because with every song there's something different that I say. There's a different sound with every song. It's kind of uneven and like kind of like me, because I'm not a stable person. So my music is also very like, it's a good thing because it's a reflection of who I am. I try different things. So when
you're not afraid to venture out at all.
No, absolutely not. I think it's important to. And so when I released a couple of singles last year, like I did a bunch of EDM, so that was received really well in the EDM community. And then this year it's been more like pop trap, dark pop. And my single Make You Mine with Big Mood from Canada, that was my first project with him. It blew up on Spotify, like algorithmic playlists picked it up, and now it has like 250,000 streams, and that's a huge achievement for my team. And then my second project, for Make You Mine, I worked on a really dope music video with Phenomena Productions here in Dubai. Incredible team, mostly run by women.
Is that Perlanta, right?
Perlanta, she's lovely.
She's
so
amazing,
she directed it, and it was very empowering because, I think there's a difference between, what I felt with them was I was so comfortable. Because they're like empowered women, they're not afraid to push limits, and that's kind of, it resonated with me. So they were like, well, you can do this, like just do this, do that. Like I pushed myself as well. So the music video dropped, and then I worked on my second project with Big Mood called Wow. It's a fun song, sassy, not very depressing like the other ones. And then I dropped an EP called Fortress, which is about my experience with U.S. immigration, experience with races. There's a song called Invisible that's about, racism. And Blurry, which is about mental health. I'm talking about indirectly talking about my battle with clinical depression and BPD. So I'm really vocal about these things because, you're human and people need to know that there's so many dimensions to you. Yeah,
we're not one-faceted. We're not in one aspect. As a human being, we have to be able to embrace our full selves, and to put that into art is amazing. I wish I had that ability. I
think everybody does. And it's true because, before I dropped it, my mom was like, are you sure you're going to want to do this? I'm like, Mom, if I don't do it, I am literally a disgrace to the musician community, because if I'm going to preach that I'm a real person, I need to talk the talk and walk the walk. I need to walk the walk because I talk the talk.
You need to be the real person.
You need to be brave enough to put it out and know that this is what it is, and people can perceive it however they like to. This is who I am, and I think that is growth as an artist, and you need that as an artist.
Yeah, true. You've had the very, like, people would kill to do some of the things that you do, you've done already. Most notably, you have the opportunity to release your music with two of the largest labels, in the world, which is Sony and Universal. How has that experience helped or hindered you?
It it was thrilling. It was refreshing. It was new.
Right.
I don't have an exclusive deal with any of the labels because, I think it takes a lot for me to get an exclusive deal and I need to make sure that it's the right deal for me.
Yeah. It has to make sense all the way around the board and
absolutely.
You're doing the right thing by doing what you do.
I feel like it's important. But that said, because it's non-exclusive, not much is done, like in terms of marketing. So it was definitely people took me more seriously, let's just say that, because, I signed with them and I released music. But in terms of, I feel like I did the same amount of work as an independent artist because we know with resources like distribution platforms, so with Sony, I did a distribution. Yeah. So when I'm releasing through DistroKid or something, it's like,
or Audio Swim.
Swim. There's so many distribution platforms, which is good because as an independent artist, like Russ said, Russ is a great example of an independent artist, and I really watch a lot of his stuff, and I feel very inspired because it is hard. It is. It's hard, and even if you have an exclusive deal with a label, things could go wrong. Yeah. In fact, you have more of a chance of it going wrong than right, Exactly. Because only so many amount of superstars, but so many people are signed to these big labels. It's better to have that power in your hands. Exactly. So in terms of, I definitely learned a lot. Would I say it was different from me releasing music independently? No, it wasn't. So I work with a management now, and I think that has been helpful for me. Would I continue to release with labels? Yes. If I see that for example, if I see that the music would fit the label, and, if they're able to market it to the right people, yes, I would. Right. But yeah, I'm just open to things, but I'm not signing an exclusive yet. But hopefully someday when the label comes to me.
Oh, it's going to come. Your music is amazing. It's only natural. The natural flow of things will make that happen when the opportunity presents. The best when opportunity. When the timing is right. So, there you go. So you recently released a new video. We can talk about your video. How has that come about?
Make You Mine? Yeah. Yes. So I worked.
I know you briefly touched on it earlier.
Yeah, I worked on Make You Mine with Phenomena. So Big Mood and I released this song, and we didn't expect it to blow up, honestly, but it blew up. And so we talked about doing a visual for it. Initially, our plan was to do a lyric video, but I was like, why don't we just do a music video? It's been a while since I did one, and I felt like. So I'd worked with Pirlanta on Last Seen Live. Yeah. And
shout out to Last Seen Live.
Yeah, incredible.
They released through Audio Swim as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. They're such a good platform for artists, kind of like this, trying to push independent artists in in the local scene. And so I worked with them, and I saw her work, and I was like,
She's amazing.
Next time I have something like. So when Big Mood checked it out, he was like, why don't we work with them on it? So it just honestly happened so fast. I reached out, and we had, I think, not even a month in between. We had 2 weeks. We did the whole, Pirlanta and I had a couple calls, and we really put the concept together. I don't know if you watched the video yet.
I did. I seen it.
But it's a really cool idea, the way that they filmed it. Everything about it, it's an alter ego, I felt like this was a video where it really spoke about me as a person. There's it's like an angel devil, yin and yang thing, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on my upcoming releases. About being a female energy and having everything. You don't have to be a nice girl. You don't have to be a bad girl. You don't have to be you are everything. Yeah. And it just embracing that and being empowered by it. So Make You Mine was definitely empowering for me, because that was the first time I also acted in a music video.
Oh, really?
That kind of acting with a male actor. Right. I didn't I remember,
you did a good job though. You can't tell at all. What?
After the shoot, Pirlanta came to me. She's like, "You take directions really well. You're a good actor." I'm like, "Thank you so much," because I love.
That could be another career path.
I've been wanting to kind of dip into acting at some point, just trying to find the right platform here to really learn. I would love to act because I feel like that's another expression. Music. It's an art form. And but you know what? Doing this music video, I realized how hard the job is. Yeah. being an actor is not glamorous at all. It's hard. You have to do the same take.
Spend about 3 hours doing 1 minute worth of scenes.
Exactly. Like we did the bed scenes like so many times to a point when like he just like fell asleep. He was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you gotta act. It was really good. The shoot ran till really late. So there was a little dance choreography that was choreographed by my friend in Bangalore. His name is Mithun, and he's an incredible choreographer. So we did like Zoom sessions. Okay. And he taught me some of the moves.
Wow, man. Technology has really came a long way to
really
like, you know.
Has.
Yeah.
I mean,
you get a whole choreographed song from
and a producer from the US, my writer from LA, mixing done by by Amin. It was an entire team of melting pot like cultures. That's what I love about projects like this. You bring people together from different parts of the world, just send files, blah 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 blah, and then it's done. Right. And I love that. So.
Yeah, I mean, just the communication. I didn't even think about that. Like how you can have a choreographer and across the world, you can have a writer across the world. You could just collaborate without even being in the same city if people utilize the tools right. Yeah. Right. So can you tell us about? I know last month you dropped a song called "Wow."
Yes.
Did you want to talk about that a little bit? Can we?
Yes. Okay. So wow. That song is so fun. It's so quirky and sexy and confident, and just something really different from what I've done before, except for Make You Mine. Well, Make You Mine was a little more darker. Yeah. In terms of like I'm seductive. It's cool. But Wow is like sassy. It's a lot of sass, and she's like, like I got you going wow like that, and then she's like I'm straight up like tequila on the rocks, and it's like. It's so fun. It has this nice dancey tone to it that I feel like whenever people listen to it, they were like, man, I was like jamming to it in my gym today. I was like just running to it. So this was the second project that Lions and I worked with on Big Mood. So Lions and Vint, my name is Varsha Vinn, it's Lions. Lions and Vint, we have a songwriting collaboration. So we do a lot of work for clients all over the world. So this was one of the projects, and I just ended up falling in love with it. I'm like, this is so light. This is so fun. This is exactly what I needed. And it really pushed my limits as a songwriter to just write something fun and just to not have, sometimes it's good to not have so much depth in something. And, but it does. It's very empowering and really fun. So song is a lot of sass.
So what do you tend to gravitate towards? Like, do you, because I know you put your whole self in your music, right?
Yes.
But what do you prefer to put out? Like, do you prefer to put out the lighthearted stuff? Do you prefer to put out the, more like introspective type of stuff? What's your preference?
I prefer to put more introspective.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just constantly introspective as a person. I'm always lost in my thoughts. I'm always thinking about, like, oh my gosh, why does that cup of coffee exist?
Right.
It's really fun. It's really fun for my friends who come over for a couple of drinks. They're like, there we go again. But I really prefer to, but I think what has been interesting is to create a balance of both. It's to kind of reach different kinds of audiences, not in a forceful way. It's just I'm a fun person who's introspective, so let's just put fun songs and let's put introspective songs out. And when I feel like that in that moment it's needed to write about something, I'll do it. I won't push it, I won't force it. So yeah, I think that's what I would say. I think, like I said, different dimensions of a person, and my music is literally a reflection of who I am. It's nothing different from who I am.
That's amazing. That's good to have that authenticity, that grind. 5 years from now, and if the age-old question, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I used to plan a lot of these things before, and I just hope that I'm a happy, content and fulfilled person with my art. I think I hope to find peace with my career, because right now it's in all honesty I'm moving, I'm trying to get stuff done, I'm trying to kind of be recognized. I think I'm at that point in my career. I'm releasing a lot of music, and I think that although it's really fun and it can really motivate you, it also drains you, and it also questions you and your worth a lot. And whenever I speak to my mom, she's always like, you know what, like, you need to learn to not miss out on life while doing so, because you're gonna look back at your 20s and be like, oh my God.
Right.
You know, because like growing up, my mom and I struggle so much to just put food on the plate.
Right.
So for me, it's an added pressure of being successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I've worked my whole life, because I'm like, I gotta take care of my mom.
Right.
But now it's shifted to a point like, mom is like, if you're not healthy mentally or physically, you cannot take care of me or anybody in your life. So that needs to be your first focus. And this is really different what people would say, because everyone's talking about hustle, and I was a major hustler, but what I would just say now is just balance.
Right.
Find a balance in your life, because you also need to, because whenever I take a break from this, I come back to it much healthier, much happier. My content is better, my music is better. So
a new approach is just is like almost like a fresh set of eyes.
Absolutely. So 5 years from now, hopefully I'm touring the world. You know, I'm working with brands that I'm passionate about. Hopefully I'm modeling and acting, because I love both. And just doing a lot of good work in the world, and hopefully kind of giving back to society, because I feel like a lot of people have helped me get here. So I would love to do that someday when I'm in the position to do that. But yeah, content and happy.
About 5 years ago, let's go to the past a little bit. Sorry. About 5 years ago, did you see yourself where you're at now? No.
I saw myself in a very different place, to be honest. I thought I would just be touring the world right now. I thought I'd be, working with brands. I mean, I am. It's different, because I'm happy now, but it's not the kind of happiness that I wanted. Right. So I'm fighting that happiness, because I'm like, this is not what I, planned. Right. Because I'm a Virgo. I plan everything. I plan my 80 when I'm 80 years old, I plan that. Right. So I think it's just giving up control. So 5 years ago, I didn't think I was going to be here, but am I happy with where I am in the sense of how my life is supposed to be? Yes. Good. I feel like I still have a lot to learn. So yeah. I mean, you're young. I hate to say that, but you have the whole your future is ahead of you. And I think that you've came so far. Like whether it's through the process of your recording and through the music that I've heard, and just seeing, hearing and having this discussion right now, we see the growth in who you are as an artist, and we know that it's going to continue to grow, and you're going to venture out to a lot of different things within the arts. But being involved in the arts, it seems, is something that makes you happy, Yeah. And with that, we have a lot of youth-based audiences that listen to us. Do you have any advice for anyone that's on the come up, or anybody that, any advice for youth, I guess? Like to be musicians? To
be musicians, or just being who they are, because I feel like with you being as introspective as you are, you give an element that I think a lot of people need to hear, not just youth, but people in general, because you're truly yourself, and it shows, it shines, it shines from you, which I think most people need to hear, because a lot of people aren't really content with being themselves. They kind of put on this front of being someone who they're not, which for you, for the way I see it, it doesn't come off on you. You're authentically you, So do you have any advice that you can give?
Yes. I think it would be more so like the advice that I would probably like to give my younger self when I was 15 or 16. Okay. And I think I would do the same. I think it is to find a purpose as to why you're doing what you're doing. For example, if you want to be a musician, you need to find a purpose as to why you want to be a musician. Right. Because let me tell you, it's hard. Yeah. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of rejection. It's a lot of people telling you that you can't do it, to a point where you get to a point where you're like, I can't do it. And so you need to be really strong. And I think also the purpose needs to be beyond, I want to be rich and famous. The reason. So what I would say is close your eyes and think about, so when you're moving towards that goal, your eyes should be fixed on the finish line, regardless of all the noise. But now the next step is close your eyes and think about why you want to get to that finish line. And if it's just, I want to be I want to be like really recognized and famous, that's not gonna make you happy, or it's not gonna work. So I think there needs to be a deeper purpose as to why you want to do something, whether you want to be an artist or a lawyer or a doctor. You know, when you're a doctor, you're like, I want to save lives, I want to give back.
Right.
So that gives you kind of deeper purpose. Instead of like, I want to make a lot of money as a surgeon, you know?
Right.
So I think as an artist, I think that's something that, you know, I would tell young people to really think about. And I would also say, really think about what you're getting into. I had zero guidance growing up. I kind of just, you know, jumped with 2 feet in and just kept floating and flying and falling and moving and rising. And I would say that if you have any opportunity to get any guidance, go for it. Because it's less tedious, and it won't affect your mental health as much. And be prepared to get help, therapy. Recently, a young girl, she's Indian, her mom reached out to me and she wanted me to guide her daughter, and I was like, I'm going to give it to her straight. Like, she needs to have a strong support system, and she needs to be mentally very strong, and if she's not able to, then she needs to get help, because it breaks you, especially as a colored person in the music industry. It is changing. Of course it's changing. But I think I would say, especially for Indians, it's a whole new world.